Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm gonna let some people take their time getting on. So you're just gonna stare at me, staring at you guys. Hello. Hey, welcome back. Take your time getting on, get settled, whether or not you're in a kitchen, that's absolutely fine. I'm glad you're joining me. I have the window open and it just started raining. If it's too loud, if the rain is too loud and distracting, let me know. I'll shut the window. I do love the sound of rain though. Is there anything more calming? No, but I sleep with white noise, so you know what that means. We do have a few housekeeping pieces before we actually start baking. Housekeeping being setting up to bake. So I'll let just a few more people get on before I dive into that because we're making cream puffs today, guys. Technically, yes, we are making Irish coffee cream puffs. It's happy hour. I don't drink that much, so if you don't want to either include like alcohol or anything like that, you don't have to. What I'm showing you today is essentially how you can make cream puffs. I'm going to show you a base recipe, and then we're going to get sort of funky and flavor and everything, and you can flavor these however you want. The base choux pastry. Gosh, I've never tried flavoring choux pastry before. I don't know if you can. You can make savory choux pastry, but what you're going to learn is sort of the basic technique to make choux pastry by hand, which is not as difficult as it sounds if anyone is nervous. And it's not like choux pastry. Hold on, I wrote this out. It's choux pastry. C-H-O-U-X. It's a French pastry. If you've had eclairs or profiteroles, which are cream puffs, that's what we're making today. Or chouquettes, or if you've seen the croquembouche, it's a Christmas dessert in France. You make little choux pastries just like we're making today. You dip them in French caramel, European caramel, which is just sort of melted sugar, and then you stack them into this tree. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So I'm super excited to make these with you today. Let's get to the housekeeping, just so we have everything set, because I'm telling you, it's not that difficult at all to make this, but it wants you to keep up with it. Choux pastry can be temperamental at times, so get a pan ready. If you don't have parchment, that's totally fine. One of the reasons I'm doing these is because I think baking can seem more daunting in terms of if I don't have the exact right ingredients or tools. And it's not true. You can do a lot of stuff with some weird tools. Someone from last week, hello and happy anniversary, by the way, used a baby bottle to roll out scones. Like, that's the type of imagination you can use all over pastry. So, pan, parchment or not, it's okay. They might get a little bit stuck, and we're just gonna jimmy them off. Also, let's get your piping bags ready. If you are not using piping bags, you can just sit pretty for the next minute or so. I'm using two different piping bags, two different tips. I have a big tip and a small tip. If you elected to bring cookie scoops, perfect. I've actually never made them with cookie scoops, but I truly don't see why it wouldn't work. And if you don't have a small tip, we're gonna fill them differently. So just get your bags ready. You really, honestly, only need one of these ready, the larger bag. And if you're using a Ziploc bag, I'm getting to you too. So I'm gonna jimmy this tip up into the bag and then get my larger bag ready. Now the larger tip is going to be the thing you actually pipe the pastry onto the pan with. And again, if you've never piped before but you're game with piping bags and tips, amazing. I'm gonna show you my technique and you could make up your own. Oh, thank you, yes. These were $2 dandelions at the grocery store. I had dandelions last week. They're gorgeous. If anyone is local, at least the Safeway near me has them. So I say, go pick them up. They bloom the same day you put them in water, and then they last for a few days. They're gorgeous. Okay, and if you are using Ziploc bags, I have a terrible example of a Ziploc bag because it's meant to be good for storage, but it separates at the bottom. If you can see sort of the difference, there's a line here. You're gonna wanna end up cutting it above the line. And you don't have to do that right now. I just wanna sort of get you started thinking about it. Okay, we've got our piping tips and our pan and our oven, 350 today. We're ready. Are you guys ready? Let's do this. So the first thing you're gonna do is actually set the flour aside. That'll come later. You're going to get, let me share the recipe with you. If you need to, you can take a screenshot of this right now, and I'll just hold it here. We're going to start by incorporating the water, butter, salt, and sugar in a pot, and we're going to heat it up and bring it to a boil. Oh yes, we're preheating the oven to 350. And then we're going to incorporate the flour on its own, and then we're going to incorporate the eggs on their own. So that's our process today. Water, butter, salt, and sugar into a pot. This is actually a half recipe. You could double this and make a ton. Because we're all in isolation, and again, it's just 2 of us here, I don't need 100 profiteroles, which is what these are called. Cream puffs are profiteroles. So 125 milliliters water, that is a half cup of water plus 1 tablespoon, and then 50 grams of unsalted butter, or I wrote 3.4, sorry for anyone on the Facebook page, 3.5 tablespoons of butter, 4 tablespoons would actually be fine. And then 2 grams of salt, that's a 1/4 cup of salt, and 2 grams of sugar, that is a 1/2 cup of sugar. All right, we're rocking. Get this puppy on the heat. I did cube my butter. You don't have to, it'll just help it melt. And we don't have to spend too much time focusing on it. I am using an electric burner, which means probably everyone's gonna be 100 steps ahead of me before mine ever boils. But it's gonna get there. If you're using cold butter, that's totally fine. You might wanna cube it if you're using cold butter. Okay, we're getting there. Has anyone made choux pastry before? Out of curiosity? I'm coming over to see you. Oh, sure, I can slow down, absolutely. Yeah, here, I'm gonna tell you what's in the pot right now. We have, and I've got the numbers right in front of me. If you're not weighing it out, it's a 1/2 cup of water plus 1 tablespoon of water. It is 3.5 tablespoons of unsalted butter. 4 tablespoons is fine. You can eyeball it, totally fine. 1/4 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of granulated sugar. And we're just getting this to a boil. Feel free to set the pot aside and get your flour weighed out or measured. You're going to be using 1/2 cup of flour, all-purpose flour, 75 grams of all-purpose flour. One thing I can say is I am not certain about substituting the base of choux pastry. Someone tell me if you've made this before and you've used like a totally different type of flour and it worked out, or used, you know, like a vegan butter, a vegetable oil pressed butter. I'm curious and I don't know. And I'm getting here. If your mixture boils before your butter is melted, just pull it off the heat and stir it until it melts, and then you can bring it back up to a boil. Speaking of which, if you don't have a stove that you can put something hot on, we will be mixing this off the heat for a bit. I'm just getting a trivet out just in case. Teaspoon salt, yes! Did I say tablespoon? It's a 1/4 teaspoon salt. If you put in a 1/4 tablespoon, that's okay. It's gonna be okay. That's not going to affect the way it comes out texturally, but it might come out flavor-wise. Do it! Oh my gosh, I'd love to hear how it turns out with bread flour. Yes, please do it. Bread, the difference between the flours is gluten content, actually. So there's the highest gluten content in cake flour, which is why it really doesn't like being messed with, because the more you sort of beat and use cake flour, the tougher the cake will be. Bread flour has the lowest gluten content and needed some love. That's why you need bread and need bread, speaking as a carbivore myself. And then all-purpose is a blend of the two. I'm pretty sure pastry flour is the equivalent of cake flour. I don't use cake flour that frequently, except if you had the pound cake that I sell online. You can see that online. Oh, hello, yes. I said cup. Good Lord. No. So don't put in a 1/4 cup of salt. Put in a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And if you put in a 1/4 cup of salt, I am so sorry, that is my fault. And you are doing a little experiment for all of us today. I remember making this in school, and at the end of it, it's like I didn't think, oh, I can throw out the things that look really bad when the chef comes around to check on stuff. And I was watching all these people like eating their ugliest chouquettes. That's the moment I realized, oh, I could put just my best work forward, not this like little completely misshapen situation. Choux, again, this choux, which is what we're making today, means cabbage in French. And you'll see why if you haven't made this before. My oven's ready. I hope yours is too. It's because of the way it looks when it bakes. It sort of looks like a cabbage. I almost disagree, but really, what am I to say? I know a couple people have heard me talk about how I think there are like 3 base pastries in French baking. And choux, pâte à choux, which is what we're making, choux pastry, is absolutely one of them. You can make so many things with choux pastry. And it's used a lot in decorations. Like a Saint Honoré cake you might have seen. It has just little chouquettes stuck with caramel. It's some beautiful stuff. You can do a lot of cool stuff. Google right now, because we're all waiting for this to boil. Choux swans, C-H-O-U-X, swans. You can do such cool stuff. We're not doing that today. We're just learning how to make choux pastry today. Hello everyone who's joining, by the way. If you want to catch up, we've got 4 ingredients in the pot. We're looking for it to boil. It is ½ cup of water plus 1 tablespoon of water, 3½ tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1/4 teaspoon salt, and a ½ teaspoon granulated sugar. And we're getting this to boil. Now I do encourage you to get your flour ready now. I'm almost to a boil. I hope you are too. If not, it's okay. We're gonna work it out. I am gonna pull out a cup for the eggs. If you've got a second, crack an egg into a cup and just let it sit there. We're gonna get back to it. The eggs are the most temperamental part of this recipe. Okay, I'm boiling. Here we go. Although I do see a comment, which I'm going to look at before I continue. Very clever. Very clever. If you're using bread flour, vodka slows down gluten development. So maybe some of the water with vodka. That sounds really, really cool. Super cool. Okay, you're gonna dump in all your flour at once. Of the flour, it'll be 75 grams of flour, which is ½ a cup. It's a little more than ½ a cup, so you can maybe put ½ a cup plus 1 teaspoon. All right, get your flour mixed in here. I'm just using a regular heat-proof, make sure it's heat-proof spatula. And we are, after it's fully incorporated, we're gonna develop some muscles today as well as developing some gluten right now. You're gonna put it back on the heat. And the purpose of putting this back on the heat is to dry out the flour a little bit. It's going to form into a ball, which is perfect. And flour does need to be cooked. Mind you, this is, it's sort of like, it's twice baked. I mean, it's twice cooked, I guess. It's not biscotti, but we are cooking it a little bit now, and then we're gonna cook it more later. Okay, so mine has turned into a ball. I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. It's taken away from the, pulled away from the sides, and it's a ball. So now you're gonna take it off the heat. You can turn off your burner, you're done, and we're gonna put an egg in, just 1 of the eggs, and you're gonna beat it hard and fast because you don't want the egg to cook. Now, if you have a stand mixer and you want to do this in a stand mixer, you totally can do that. I want to show you how to do this completely without a stand mixer, but you're welcome to use one. A hand mixer with a whisk attachment I don't think would work well. What you do is, after you cook the flour, you'll put it in the stand mixer bowl with a paddle attachment, and then this part is the part that you'd use the machine for. Okay, I'm going to tell you what you're looking for. Make sure your egg doesn't cook on its own, by the way. And I'm going to see if I need a second egg. Okay, so what you're looking for is for when it falls off, it comes to a point, and we're not quite there. So this is a trick. I'm going to, and I encourage you to do this too, take a separate container, crack an egg into it, and then whisk it. So you're going to beat the egg. And there's a reason we're doing this, because sometimes it just needs ½ an egg more, and you don't want to overdo the egg. All right, I'm going to put in ½ of this, and then you're going to beat it hard again. And I know I'm not there to see what you're doing, but you can you can do this. and the worst thing that can happen with choux pastry, besides putting in a quarter cup of salt because I told you to, is that it doesn't hollow out. And that's not bad. It's okay if it doesn't hollow out. Mine might not hollow out today. I don't know. Every day is different. The humidity level changes. It's raining today, for instance. And it's okay if it doesn't hollow out because I've had this not hollow out before and it still tastes delicious. We can still fill them. All right, let's see. Mine currently is this texture and I'm pretty sure this is good. So that half an egg was right, but let's see. Yes. Okay, see how it's coming to a point? That's what we're looking for. All right. How are we all doing out there? It's liquidy. It's supposed to look sort of, I want to say gelatinous. It's coming to a point at the end when it comes down. So it's wet and it's going to be wet and that's absolutely fine. That's what we're looking for. How's it going, guys? I'm excited we're doing this. Thanks for joining me today. I can't believe we're almost, that's it, in our second week of isolation. Oh yes, absolutely. If you're just joining, after you boil, you're gonna mix in the flour and then put it back on the stove, cook it for a little bit till it gets into a ball, and then add the eggs one at a time. I only added an egg and a half. You can beat that second egg, add it little by little. Okay, we're gonna fill pastry bags. Now, if you're using a cookie scoop, and I'm gonna show you how to do each one of these. Are using a cookie scoop. I have a small one. You can use 2 spoons. I've never tried it, but honestly, it should be fine. And then you can just dollop them on by the scoop or use 2 spoons to do the same thing. That's not quite enough. I'm going to show you how much we're looking for, and we can reshape them afterwards. If you are using a pastry bag with me, I'm going to show you my technique for filling. You can do this however you want. If you have a favorite technique, that's totally fine. Start by sort of folding down the top of your bag, and then I just sort of shove it into my hand. So my hand is underneath here holding the bag up, and I wipe it onto my hand. I know it sounds disgusting, but it works so well. So I pick up this choux pastry, I put it in the bag, and then I literally, if you look, wipe it on my hand. A lot of people take a measuring cup or a to-go container you might have recently, just because we're all doing to-go. You can sort of settle it inside of that and fold the top over on that. That totally works. And again, if you want to use 2 spoons, that's fine. Now what I like to do every time I fill a pastry bag is press it towards the tip. You can use a spatula to do this. You could just use your hand, just like that. And I'm using a reusable pastry bag just because it's a big one. Okay. So now it's all collected. I grab it at the top and I twist. And that's it. And you can always do like a tester somewhere else. I always keep a garbage bowl near me to throw eggshells. So you can just ooh, look, it's steaming. It looks perfect. You can just test it by putting a little down. You're like, okay, that's working. And then we can work on piping these. Now, you can see this. I'm going to get up close too. What I like to do with choux pastry is I actually come at it at an angle. This is how I learned you can come at it from the top. There's really no way to do this. These are your profiteroles. They're your cream puffs. You can do whatever shape you want. I pipe it and I leave the tip where it is until it's the size I want. And then I pull up and I have a little tail, and we're going to get to the tails. Don't worry about the tails. So I'm going to show you one more, and then I'm going to try and do one in the screen. You want to leave maybe 2 inches between. Just give them some breathing space. All right, I think I can do this right in front of your face. It's right here. So this is how I do it. I keep it at a side angle. I pipe, leaving the tip where it is, and then I just pull up. And we're going to deal with the tail, so don't worry about it. So fill your boards. How are we doing? Yes, I'm so sorry if I'm moving too quickly. Absolutely. All we're doing now is piping them out. Take your time. Again, if you want to do these in S shapes, if you want to try and make a swan and you've got a tutorial up on like the other screen, go for it. I've never made a swan before. I think I'm going to end up with, I don't know, maybe 14. I think I might be overreaching with that. And they're going to be a little uneven. If you're looking at using a cookie scoop, I'd say about 2 tablespoons, maybe a tablespoon and a half is the amount. So long as they're all even, it doesn't quite matter. It'll take longer for them to bake, but they'll bake evenly so long as they're all the same size. And then later we'll get to fill them, which is an incredibly fun part. Again, if you don't have parchment, that's okay. I would not recommend greasing the tray. That will sort of screw with their shape. I would do it dry if I were you. But if you're greasing the tray today, let me know how it goes. Maybe it goes wonderfully. Offhand, I'd say don't do it, but we're experimenting today. Okay, mine are not even lined up. They're all over the place, and that's okay. And it's okay if yours are too. How many did I get here? 12. Oh, 16. Okay. So, if you have half an egg left, keep it. We're going to use it as egg wash. If you don't have parchment, pipe it onto a dry tray, nicknamed Dre. Don't grease your pan. I think it might flatten the profiteroles, and what we want is for them to just rise. These are really high moisture. It's just all choux pastry is a high moisture dough. And the thing about this is it hollows out. So it's going to bake and rise, and the inside will hollow out. And that's why we can fill them like eclairs. Silicone mat works great. If you've got sort of a non-stick mat, that's perfect. Absolutely, yes. Actually, don't keep any at home. I should. That's a brilliant idea. Next, we're going to egg wash. And I've got a pastry brush right here. And we're going to deal with the tips now. And yes, 350. Preheat your ovens to 350. So if you don't have egg wash, I did not tell you to bring an egg for egg wash. So that's okay. Sometimes people don't put egg wash on choux pastry, and that's up to you. It does get a little, I love the golden brown, and it's a little lighter than that if you don't use it. But it's not necessary. It's visual. So I like to try and get that little tail in as I egg wash. If you want to use a part milk, part egg wash, go for it. I think a cream wash would be okay. If you don't have eggs and you want to try something like a cream or milk wash, let me know how it goes. I'd love to know. I think that should be just fine. The egg wash doesn't weigh these down, so I'm hoping that a cream wash wouldn't either. And we're doing one more thing after this. If your tails are still sticking up, don't freak out. Also, if your tails are still sticking up and you put them in the oven, they're going to taste great. So it doesn't matter. I don't know how many of you were here last week when we did scones, but oh my gosh, the pictures I got were phenomenal. You guys are really talented. And a lot of you can't even get the ingredients you're looking for, and you still manage these gorgeous things. And I've got my weird one, which I'm going to reshape in the back. That is going to sort of look like a Siamese twin puff. And why not? I'm actually a twin. Some of you know that, some of you don't. All right, and now for a last little thing, take a spoon, any spoon, get it wet, and we're going to make a small indent in the top and get these into the oven. And for this, you can use this to get the tail in a little more. The thing is to sort of, it helps it keep its shape better. I just made the tail worse on this one. And if that happens, no biggie. You might have to continue running it underwater between, and that's okay. I've actually heard of water washes too. I've never tried one myself. I don't know how that would actually work. A lot of the time in school, we were taught to use coffee extract, actually. Isn't that weird? All right, into the oven they go. You will notice that I'm actually really obsessed with the idea of 4-minute intervals, but for us, 5, because we have a filling to make. And I will go through what these should look like. You want them raised and you want them hollow. You can always pluck one off and check inside. Sometimes the outside looks ready and the inside is soggy, and so we want to avoid that. even though sometimes, typically after we fill it, it's going to get soggy no matter what, which is why these are an eat immediately situation. If you're not baking all of these at once, you want to save the dough. You can wrap the dough in plastic wrap. You can leave it in the piping bag, which I've done before. It works great. I have noticed they don't rise as well. So another option is to bake it all off at once and then unfilled. You want to freeze the unfilled shells. They won't be the light, crispy wonders they are right when they come out of the oven. But that's okay because you get a cream puff and they don't need to be perfect. They can just be yummy. If you need to, check out our whipping cream filling. Now I am making an Irish cream filling, which will be whipping cream with the inclusions of Bailey's Irish cream and some coffee. And I'll show you sort of my thoughts on both of those, but you can go wild if you just want to make a straight whipping cream. That's a whipped cream, beg your pardon. That's totally fine. Just use powdered sugar and vanilla and we can fill it with that. Sometimes people fill cream puffs with ice cream, chocolate ganache. My favorite filling is actually a Diplomat's cream, which is 1 part whipped cream, sweet, I like sweetened whipped cream, folded into a pastry cream, which is sort of like a vanilla custard. I think that's just amazing. I was worried about that taking too much time today, so we are doing a whipped cream today. And just in case someone doesn't have a stand mixer, I'm going to whip it by hand, and you can join me or not. Feel free to throw all of this in your stand mixer and just beat it until you like the texture. I know that growing up, my mom always liked the whipped cream whipped really hard, which I get because it softens over time. Okay, I'm getting whipping cream. And my recipe for this is 1 1/4 cup whipping cream and 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. If you, again, want to take a screenshot of this, we're just looking at the bottom now. That stuff is done on top. Look at us, that stuff is done on top. And this probably will be making too much whipped cream. So if you want to have it, feel free. If you just want to make this by taste, do it. Today, I'm choosing to follow the recipe and tomorrow I might not. So 1 1/4 cup whipping cream. And then 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. And I'm going to throw in the flavorings at the end. It's a lot safer that way. Including the vanilla. I'm not sure if I'm going to use vanilla today. And again, you're welcome to get crazy here. This is sort of the fun part. This is the decorations. And I've got 2 more minutes on my oven, so I'm going to start whipping. There was this, gosh, my bowl might not be big enough. There was this one chef who I admittedly, I did not like him very much in school. He was sort of, he was mean. He was mean. Some of the stereotypes about French chefs are absolutely wrong, and some of them are completely true, like everything else in life. And he did one of our demonstrations, and the way it worked was we'd sit for a demonstration of a recipe, chouquettes, for instance, which, by the way, are unfilled cream puffs, sometimes decorated with nibbed sugar. Chouquettes, little chouquettes. I should have mentioned that. So if you don't have a filling, that's okay. You're actually making a French pastry. Not for this specific filling, there's no substitute for whipping cream, but again, you can just dust them with sugar or powdered sugar at the end, and that is actually a French pastry called chouquettes. If you have the ingredients, or if you have instant pudding, actually, that's very similar to a pastry cream. I feel like I'm going to be in trouble for saying something like that. Or if you want to make like a thicker chocolate ganache or something like that, you can't because that requires whipping cream. Totally up to you. You can fill these, if you have ice cream in the freezer, you can use ice cream and fill them. This is absolutely not necessary. This part you can go wild on. Anyways, we had demonstrations, which is where we saw a recipe, and then we'd have practicals where we executed the recipe. And I guess this chef had a reputation. He showed up for our demonstration, and we hadn't had him before, and it was like a collective groan in the class. Let's check on these, and then I'll bore you more with this wonderful story. Again, huge believer, turn the pan around 360. And then I'm gonna move mine to the upper rack. And these can go longer, so I'm gonna tell you to set your timers for 7 minutes. Everyone's oven is different, but I doubt yours are done yet. So we were at the collective groan. And then he started baking, and he did everything by hand, and none of the other chefs had done that. I might have mentioned this last week, but this was a while. This was 7 years ago when I was in Paris for pastry school, and we didn't have any machines or anything, and so we'd watch the chef make croissants in a stand mixer to beat it with a dough hook attachment, and then we would beat it. Maybe I'll do croissants sometime. It can be very fun and stress relieving and aggressive. And then we would do it by hand. But he didn't do that. He whipped everything. I mean, whipping egg whites by hand is much more difficult than what I'm doing right now. This will be done probably in 2 minutes. And I just admired that so much because he got right down to our level. I don't know if he still works there. I don't know. It sounds like we might have some trained professionals or bread makers out there. Let me know. I'd love to know where all of you are from today. Is anyone else whipping by hand? Or maybe you're just watching me, you can't hear me because your stand mixer's going so high. Almost there. Again, what you're going to need for this, if you want to make Irish cream filling, is Bailey's or a different brand of Irish cream. I don't actually know. Oh, hello in San Mateo. That's not too far. We're in San Mateo County. I live in San Carlos, though, which is where I'm coming to you from now. This is almost done. And then what I'm going to do, and you don't have to do this, if you have... Yes! You've always whipped cream by hand? Good for you! Oh, you always have whipped cream on hand. Oh, better for you. We all need to get on your level. That's what's happening. San Lorenzo! Oh, I'm so glad. Good, good, good. In Santa Clara, oh my gosh, everyone is around here right now. Fantastic. So I was up north just a little bit today, and the rain was migrating down, so I don't know if San Jose or Santa Clara, if either of you have hit the rain yet, but it might be coming your way. Oh, hello! I'm so glad you guys are joining today. I will have a buzzword at the end for anyone who's part of the Sequoia High School culinary class. I can't imagine distance learning in a culinary class. I suppose I'm partially doing that, but I don't have to grade you guys. That sounds so difficult. Pismo! Hello! Welcome from Pismo. Gosh, it's so cool that we're connecting like this while we're in isolation. You know, we're not in isolation. I see I'm making a little bit of a mess. That's okay too, this is baking. It's supposed to be a little messy. Almost there. Definitely plenty of whipping cream. Redwood City! Hey! That's super close to me, if you don't know the Bay Area. And Pleasanton, oh my gosh, you guys are all over. I'm getting so excited, I'm spraying whipped cream everywhere. Ooh, this is almost there. Again, I'm gonna whip this hard. You don't have to. And I recommend you use a bigger bowl than I used. Or no pressure. If you feel like making a mess, make a mess. Okay, oh, this is looking so good. Okay, because we're gonna keep whipping with other ingredients, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna tell you how I'm flavoring this, and you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna put about 2 tablespoons of milk into a cup, and this is for instant coffee. When I'm adding coffee flavorings, and I'm not using that much, because you can't add a ton of liquid to whipping cream and still expect it to hold, I do a very strong mixture. So I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons of milk in the bottom of, and 2 tablespoons is half a quarter cup. And I'm going to heat it up. 45 seconds is my recommendation. If you don't want it to scald, that might be too long. I will tell you as soon as I realize I'm wrong. And then I have instant coffee, and I'm going to use equal parts milk, equal parts instant coffee, make a super strong mixture. If you just have brewed coffee, if you're the one eating it and you're drinking coffee, splash a little, you know what I mean? Just whatever you want. If you have instant espresso, you can do something similar. You're going to have to adjust the ratio a little bit. I would say half espresso, 1 to 2 espresso to milk. But again, whatever coffee you're using, I haven't tried adding instant coffee or espresso directly to it. Honestly, it would probably work to an extent. The granules in instant coffee are too big, I bet, but instant espresso might work. Let me know. Yeah, use espresso, absolutely. Total, I think this will take, that's a great question. I would give yourself an hour from front to back, including sort of prep, baking. It has to cool before we fill it. An hour is safe. Instagram Live only gives me an hour, so we're gonna be done in the next 25 minutes for sure. Hey, it didn't scald. All right, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of instant coffee to this mixture. And then whisk it all. I think I have a mini whisk that I'm gonna whip out right now. Pun intended. Okay. If I don't have a mini whisk, oh, I have a sort of mini, this is not a mini whisk. Oh, it smells so good. I'm a big coffee drinker though. Let that cool. Don't dump it in just yet. That's why we're making it now. And then they actually sell these mini Baileys that are incredible. I just got this at the local Safeway in, I'm really bad about this, I think it was near the Bailey section, wherever that may be. And I'm gonna try adding a tablespoon first, and then I'm gonna increase. And this is all based on flavor. You guys try it as you go. If you don't like the way it's tasting, stop, don't add more. You can add more powdered sugar. You can add a little bit of vanilla. I think I will add vanilla. I just wanted to try it first without vanilla, and it's getting that wonderful Irish cream color right now. I'm not sure you can tell the change from your end. Okay, now I'm going to try it. I've got 10 seconds on the oven right now. See if I want more Baileys. Ooh, it's perfect. Oh, I really like that. It might be too weak for some people that are huge Baileys fans. It's just got that perfect hint of Irish cream. All right, woohoo. Okay, this is where I'm at. Let me show you. It's not done, to be clear. I'm gonna set this back in for 6 more minutes. I know the numbers sound arbitrary. So they are getting a little bit bigger. You can see it's, whoa, turning into a cabbage just a little bit. See, mistakes happen all the time, guys. But they're definitely not done. They're not golden brown. You can tell they're a little wet. So these are going back into the oven. And I'm gonna do 6 more minutes. And it's not even cheating. If you wanna just pluck one off, cut it open and see if it's, it should be dried inside. Do it. That's absolutely fine. Okay, I am gonna add vanilla. I'm gonna add a half teaspoon of vanilla to this. So right now I have these whipped cream measurements and a tablespoon of Baileys. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla. I mean a half teaspoon, beg your pardon, of vanilla. Don't add a half cup of vanilla. And then continue to whip. If you're making this in a machine, you're doing the exact same thing I am. You're just using a machine to do it. Probably with less mess. I typically make whipped cream by hand because I want less of a mess. Like I don't have to clean a machine. Well, I have to clean this machine that made it. Okay, my coffee's still a little hot. It should be okay. What you're gonna do is add it, and I would add 1 tablespoon to begin with. And then whisk immediately because you don't really want it to melt. It's like when you're working with hot liquids and adding eggs, which we were doing earlier. And I love coffee. That's sort of what I'm excited about for this filling. Ooh, this color is so pretty. Freaking out. Look at, oh, can you see just how gorgeous that color is? Not really. I've got the window open. Thank you. All right, I'm going to give this a taste. Come on. If you like coffee, oh my goodness, add a tablespoon of it. If you are using coffee that you just made and it uses water, you can start with half a tablespoon. Water is not that much thinner than whole milk, which is what I was using. So you don't have to be shy. And also, just so you know, if maybe your cream is too thin, you can add more cream and whip it, because you're going to whip that new cream into it. I would do half a tablespoon of brewed coffee to begin with. and then see the texture and the flavor. And if the texture looks like it's thick enough, mine looks like it's thick enough, you can add more. And if you like the flavor where it is, you don't have to add any more. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. And I've got 4 more minutes on this. So I'm going to get my filling into the bag. I'm going to show you, if you don't have piping bags, you don't have to do this at all. What we're going to do is take our perfect and dried cream puffs. We're going to poke a hole in the bottom and fill it from the bottom. And when it is about to burst, that's when it's the perfect amount of filling, because the pastry will actually absorb some of it. You don't have to do that though. If you don't have a piping bag, just forget about it. And we're going to cut, and this is also classic too. The filling is more classic. This is great. You've seen it before. We're going to cut them in half horizontally, and then you can just take the hat off, fill the bottom, pop the hat back on, and you've got cream puffs too. So you really can't go wrong here. You do not need a piping bag. You don't need any special equipment. You can do this all by hand and make a mess too. So I thought I had a piping bag ready somewhere. Hello. And I'm going to fill mine now. If you have any questions, let me know. There is apparently guys, there is a right amount of filling for cream puffs. And you can get it wrong. And a French chef can tell by holding it in his hand if you haven't. I've never been on a French chef level, that much I can say. Okay, same technique. Now you can actually see what I'm doing though. So I'm going to show you this from the beginning, just as a piping technique. If you want to use it, you don't have to. Again, you can set this here. I'll show you. You can set this inside of a tall quart container like this, and then fold it. I've seen this done all the time. A professional kitchen, like everyone does this. You're just going to fold it around the edges of it. This one's too small, actually. My bag is too small. And then you can just fill it, pick it up. I'm going to show you again how I do it by hand. I fold it over a little bit, stick my hand in the corner, and I create like a little hand grip here. And then I wipe, that's what I would say I do. I wipe it on my hand. And then it's still you've got excess bag on the sides. You're not actually making the mess you think you are. And I have way too much whipped cream, which isn't even possible because I know I'm going to use it. Guys, hot chocolate at night with this Irish coffee whipped cream sounds just amazing. I would put this on my coffee. Is that disgusting in the morning? It tastes so good. I hope everyone's getting their own delicious flavorings for the fillings going. Let me know what you're making. If you're not making Irish cream with me, let me know. I want to know what you're up to. I will say this demo would way outvoted over the pina colada macaroons. So I'm actually, stoked about it because I don't typically sell choux pastry, but I love making it. I can't say I'm its biggest fan in terms of eating it. Now I'm going to take this, and you can just take your bowl of whipped cream. I'm going to put this in the fridge while we get these guys settled, just so it doesn't fall too much. And I just folded the end under. You can use a rubber band at the end. That sometimes is really simple if you're moving it a lot. Yes, you absolutely need to try these when you get home. I hope we're almost on week 2 now, and it sounds like it's going to be extended, which it's going to be okay, guys. We can still bake together. But I hope everyone's holding up okay. I know I haven't worn as many sweatpants as I've been wearing lately. Just really enjoying myself. Okay, let's check. Now I'm going to poke mine because I don't think they look quite done. Ooh, they're hollowing out perfectly. They are a little bit, I can tell they're a little bit wet inside because they give just a little bit. The sides are springing back and the tops aren't quite done. So we're gonna go one more set, and I'm gonna say 4 minutes. Now you don't want to keep them out of the oven too long, they will fall. So if you can leave yours in the oven. I'll show you mine. If all mine fall, it doesn't matter. It's absolutely fine. You guys are so fun. Thank you for joining. Seriously, I appreciate it. When it comes to them being too wet inside, or if they're collapsing. Like if you pull them out of the oven and they're collapsing, that's your signal that they weren't quite done, and it's not the end of the world. Not at all in any way. They're actually probably still, I'm really nervous about saying that. I would still eat them. Everything has been baked except the egg, which was supposed to be the added moisture to help them puff. I have had the frozen ones I mentioned earlier. You freeze the dough, let it sit in the fridge overnight when you want it, pipe it and bake it. I have had those not hollow before, and I can't say why. I didn't actually think too much about why, except, maybe it had, I don't know, lost some of its moisture content in the incredibly humid freezer full of water. But if yours haven't hollowed today, they don't look like they're hollowing, they're just flat, you can still slice them in half and top them and fill them. Because if you bake them the full length, they're totally edible. It's just if they ended up not rising today. And that's okay. I recommend you try this again. I mean, maybe you needed that whole second egg. Every egg is a different size, and so that is one reason that we do it that way with choux pastry. You can weigh eggs too, obviously, but you can weigh all these other ingredients. When it comes to egg, it's really just about getting the proper moisture content and it falling into that V shape. It comes to a point that I showed you earlier. And if you are just tuning in, I will post it. The reason I didn't post last week's on Instagram was I couldn't get it. It wasn't showing the full width of, like you're on my phone right now, a phone screen. So I did post these. I will be posting this. I posted last week's on YouTube, which I can link to, as well as Facebook. It has the full video, full length in both ways. And we made scones if you weren't here last week. And today's Irish coffee cream puffs, if you're just jumping in, which I know some people are. Anyways, do you guys have any questions? Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. Give it more time in the oven. If you rotated it and they fell, these aren't soufflés. Like, they're temperamental. They can, they really want your attention, but it's okay. I still say with choux pastry, it's good to rotate to avoid one pastry sitting in the hottest spot of your oven and that one overcooking and the rest of yours undercooking. So it should be fine. Even if they fell a little bit in between, they're gonna puff up and dry. That means they aren't ready yet, and that's okay if they're not ready yet. Oh, good. Yes, good. Good. I'm glad. And I've got 38 seconds left to check these guys. Mine aren't that golden. They're a little more yellow, and I think that's because I had a little bit extra yolk in the dough when I beat it, and then, of course, the egg wash on top. Did anyone try a cream wash this time? Me too. I think it's the only thing to do, especially if you don't have a convection oven, which I don't at home. But when I'm baking in the kitchen, I always rotate the pan because there are hot spots in there too, for sure. There are hot spots in that oven. And baked goods need some tender loving care sometimes. I mean, it's like cooking on a cast iron, though. There are such hot spots on cast irons. I was just making burgers last night. I flipped them over in a cast iron, and it was like, oh, that part's definitely hotter than the other part that this patty was on. All right. Mine are getting really brown on the bottom. Why don't I cut one up and show you? Because I don't think these are quite done. Ooh, oh my gosh, they're so close, you guys. Okay. They're springing back. I'm going to cut one up to show you, but I'm going to pop them back in the oven for 3 more minutes. I'll take this one and see what it looks like inside. And again, maybe mine didn't rise today, and that's okay. 3 more minutes. I am the type of person that I don't let things just sit in the oven. I always want to show it as much attention as it wants. And this one is falling a little bit, so I can tell it's not done, but I can show you what we're looking for. Now, this is very hot. It has hollowed out on the inside. Do you see that hole? And it's steaming. And I'm shaking because it's so hot. So that's the hole that we're going to fill with. And now I can show you what we're going to be doing afterwards, which is taking that little, put it over, give me 1 second. It's in the fridge, so I'm going to show you. If you're filling, we're going to be taking these and stabbing a hole through the bottom and then filling it with the cream through that hole in the bottom. I just took a piping tip. You can use a knife. Again, the rest of us, we can just cut it in half and fill it. Okay, that's okay. And it's okay whatever color they are. That's absolutely fine. If they're yellow or if they're much lighter than that, that doesn't mean they're not done, and that doesn't mean you did something wrong. I've seen choux pastry all sorts of colors. I did want to mention, if you are a fan of eclairs, or if you know the chouquettes that I'm talking about, the little ones, you can always use a star tip, which I had a large one right here. That can look a fluted tip, and that could look really pretty. So instead of sort of the cabbage, choux means cabbage if you are joining us now. It can look really, really pretty if you do a fluted tip instead, and it has the gorgeous lines. I mean, if you Google chouquettes, I think most of them will have them. That's C-H-O-U-X. Oh no, I'm freaking out. No, C-H-O-U-Q-U-E-T-T-E-S, chouquettes. Those typically are fluted tips, and they have nibbed sugar on top. They can be just gorgeous. Again, if you don't have a filling today, that's totally fine. Great question. It's actually super hard to overcook these. Much easier to undercook these. If the bottom is getting incredibly dark, it's either overcooking or like this is not quite done, for instance. That's a little too light. But if you're getting like a black bottom, it's probably overcooked, or you need to put it on a higher rack to finish cooking. I'm trying to think if the top gets very dark. I think you're going to see it on the bottom before you see it on the top. I have heard some people think when you use parchment, it doesn't dry out as well. I actually disagree with that. But if you're terribly concerned, next go, use a pan without parchment, and see if it cooks better or not. I always use parchment. I think it's not worth it. Like if you have to scrape the choux pastry off the pan and then it breaks anyways. All right, here we go. And I made little ones today. Again, this is a half recipe. You can make bigger ones if you want, so long as everything on the pan is completely equal. Ooh, wait a second. These look gorgeous. And they're just beginning to brown wonderfully on top. I know I always say just a few more, but I'm always thinking just a few more. That one I used the cookie scoop with, I think it's a little weird, but to me it looks the best, it rose the best. So if you're using cookie scoop today, I want to know about it. Let me know. Okay guys, so 3 more minutes. We're probably gonna have to start a second Instagram live video. I know there's maybe a temptation to cook at a higher temperature. Typically choux pastry likes lower temperature. I think 350 is a good sort of top bar for temperature. If you use a higher temperature, it cooks too quickly, too fast, and you're going to actually lose some of the rise. It's completely opposite of scones. Yes, profiteroles. Yes, thank you. Cream puffs, profiteroles. I don't actually know where profiteroles comes from, except that is what they call cream puffs in France. Yes. What fillings are you guys making today? I'm curious. Are we all doing Irish cream together? Or maybe you aren't doing Irish cream. It sounded like someone here had whipped cream on hand, which is the life I should be living, and I'm not living it for some reason. I'm having this whipped cream. I have a little bit left over. I'm having it on coffee tomorrow morning. We're in isolation. We can break all the rules we want while sticking in isolation. Oh, good. I'm glad you're doing the Irish cream, too. Thanks for bearing with this slow oven. I don't know if someone is coffee banana. That sounds so good. Right? Oh, everyone tell me if you're putting this whipped cream on your coffee. I'm not going to get over it. I want it for dessert on hot chocolate, too. I know, Irish cream is not typically... Maybe we have it. My husband loves sort of the science of mixed drinks and things like that. And so we typically have a lot of different liqueurs on hand. This little Bailey's I have, because I don't know if anyone had them for St. Patrick's Day, but I made Irish cream scones. You could do that in the scone recipe I made last week. That's not the scone base I used, but you could substitute, I'm going to say half. You could do half Irish cream and then half of the heavy cream and make Irish cream scones from that base too. Coffee whipped cream sounds excellent too. You can't go wrong. But again, I'm a coffee nut. I really like my coffee. Okay, we've got 1 more minute, and then I'm pretty sure this will be it. Is anyone else getting sort of a nice brown top right now? Do you guys think it looks like a cabbage? Maybe I don't eat enough cabbage. It's very possible I don't eat enough cabbage to know. I don't know. I don't think that this is a very attractive pastry, but it can be so delicious, especially if you're doing like a pastry cream filling, which I guess we would have had time for, a pastry cream filling. I didn't realize that. Typically pastry cream, after you've made it, best thing to do is to let it cool in a pan, because it'll cool faster, with plastic wrap directly on the surface of the pastry cream so that it doesn't develop a skin. And then, if we folded a vanilla pastry cream into this whipped cream, that's such a bomb filling. That sounds so good. I've got to try it sometime. I'll let you know if I try it. Round and lumpy, I totally agree. I'm feeling it's a little round and lumpy. All right, this is the moment of truth. Oh yes, okay, these look so good. I'm going to turn off my oven, and I'm going to pull some to the side. I'm going to try and pull my prettiest ones. These are a little small. Whoa. They look really good. I'm going to pull my, you want to see my Siamese twin one? So this is the one I did with the cookie scoop. It actually rose a decent amount, even though it's sort of a, I don't know. It's got sort of an H shape. I could pass that off for something else. I'm going to pull 3 to the side to let those cool faster. Now, I did want to talk about toppings. Some people glaze these. I've never actually glazed them. I do sometimes melt chocolate, which I said you could have today, with a little bit of oil. Some people use vegetable oil. I have coconut oil too. I have used butter in a pinch. Not sure about that. You microwave the chocolate in 30-second intervals, mixing between. And the reason you add the oil, it does make it longer. It takes a longer time to set, which is one reason I decided not to do that today. But it keeps it glossy and it keeps it from seizing. So that would be a great, you can just dip each cream puff into the chocolate. I'm going to do a sprinkle of powdered sugar once we've got these done. Oh, hello. Yes, people that are joining right now. I know this is crazy. I will end this video and then start a new live. Maybe I should do that now because I think we only have 3 minutes and these last an hour. Okay. You have to trust me, guys. I'm going to end this video right now and start a new Instagram live. Are you ready? Everyone following me? Okay. Here I go. I'll see you in a second. Bye. Oh, hello. Yes, great. Okay, people. Excellent. You guys followed me. I'm so glad. I know that can be tricky. And to think we're almost done. Maybe you can give yourself a little extra time. Whoever asked about how long this takes, maybe over an hour, because we're letting them cool a little bit. I am going to get my powdered sugar ready to go. I always keep my powdered sugar in a whisk over a bowl so I can use it whenever I want. And that is how I'm going to decorate these today. Okay, so we're going to start, and it's okay to do this while they're warm. That's absolutely fine. By poking a hole in the bottom. And you'll know immediately if it's hollow or not because it'll jab through, and then you'll have some space before you actually hit the next edge. So all I'm doing is poking. Oh, I love this little, I should poke 2 holes in the bottom of this. Eclairs typically have 3 holes in the bottom. Next time you're in sort of a classic French patisserie, check the bottom of your eclair because it's going to have holes in it. And that's classic. And then I'm going to cut some other ones for you. So you can take, I'm going to grab this massive bread knife for this tiny little cream puff and just cut it in half. It's my sharpest knife. Perfect. And you can see the little holes from where it's hollowed out. And again, if yours didn't hollow out, that's totally fine. That's absolutely fine. Just fill them anyways. It could be that you needed maybe just a little more egg. You needed a higher moisture content. I'm going to do 3 filled and 3 not filled. And then if anyone does have like instant vanilla pudding on hand or something, I'm curious how that goes for you. Okay, I'm going to show you how to fill these. Pull my pastry bag out of the refrigerator and wait, let me get a plate for us so I can lift it up to show you what's going on. And you're literally going to take the whole, again, if you're using a pastry bag, I've got a small round tip here. It doesn't matter what shape the tip is. If you have, I have a weird tip right around me that I used to puncture a hole earlier. That works. And you're going to fill it until it begins to come back at you. So I'm squeezing my bag, and I admit, I am timid about this. You see it expanding? Oh my gosh. That means you're filling, ooh, and it's just poking out the top, and that's totally fine. That means you know you filled it enough. And don't worry, we're almost done. I know I said this would be an hour, and I don't want anyone, I did poke 2 holes in this one to feel like they don't have enough time today. Sort of feels like we're doing surgery here. Okay, and then for these other cut ones, I'm just going to pipe, and again, you can just scoop it, spread it, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna put a lot. And if you use a designed tip, these can look so cute. Like, see, I popped its hat right back on here in the front. It is pretty, and my other ones, they popped a little, and that's totally fine. I really want everyone to know that you cannot go wrong. It's always okay. And if something goes wrong and it's not okay, you can always try again. That's sort of the beauty of this. No one should ever be afraid. Guys, it's not classic, but I'm really liking the cut ones right now. I think they're sort of cuter and they've got a lump. And I'm going to decorate mine with powdered sugar. I have to try my Siamese twin though. Oh, I just put so much powdered sugar. It's gorgeous though. So I'm going to show you, this guy's adorable right here. I wonder if I can pick him up gently. Isn't that cute? Oh gosh, and I didn't use a special tip. I basically sort of schlucked it right on. I don't think that's how you use that word. It's adorable. And we have cream puffs. We have Irish coffee cream puffs. Amen. Absolutely. If it goes wrong, who has to know but you? And honestly, if it goes wrong and your roommate or your spouse or anyone is criticizing you, they don't get any. And that's the punishment. Okay, which one am I going to try? I think this one's so cute. I'm going to pop the whole thing in my mouth. I made really small ones today. Again, you can make it any size. Super cute. Love the powdered sugar. You can absolutely dip it into the chocolate and let it go. I think I missed a question. If yours look flat, if they didn't rise quite, and this one I didn't even fill. I mean, what you can do, even if they didn't rise, it doesn't mean they're not cooked. It might have been a moisture problem. Totally okay. You can still cut them in half, load it up with a filling, and put the top on, and you still got a cream puff. I mean, even if this didn't rise, it sort of looks like it did. So maybe there's a little less filling to shell, and that's okay too, if you're closer to 1 and 1. I feel like I did miss another question. No, it's all good. Okay, I'm popping this whole thing in my mouth. Are you ready? You guys. Yeah, that's, The coffee is so strong, which is right up my alley. I hope that you are coffee drinkers if you added that full tablespoon, because it's killer. I have the lightest Bailey's flavor, which is more up my alley, but it's delicious. I hope everyone has their own delicious experiences right now. Right now is the perfect time when they're fresh. You're still going to have sort of like a crunchy, light shell, and then this soft, wonderful filling. The longer they sit, you can keep these. You can sort of wrap them up, pop them in the fridge. The longer they sit, the more filling the shell is going to absorb. So the shell will turn soft. Soggy is too strong of a word, but it can get there. If they didn't rise, for instance, they're going to get a little soggy while you keep them, but they're still edible. They're still delicious. If you have extra shells, I'm going to freeze these guys. I'm going to pop them into a Ziploc bag and put them in the freezer in one layer. That way they don't get compressed, because we just spent all this time getting air into them. You want to keep them that way. I think they freeze well. The they'll lose their crispiness, but then later you can fill them and still enjoy them. The same texture they'd be if you had filled them and put them in the fridge. So that's it. That's cream puffs. We made choux pastry today. We made a filling. I mean, I'm stoked. I'm so glad. How did you guys do? How are you feeling? I hope good. At the very least, you can rewatch this video and make choux pastry all over again. You can do it, and you can use a stand mixer instead, which you absolutely can. I explained that, I think I did, as we were going. And for Sequoia High School students, you need a buzzword. Oh, this is backwards. Well, it will be backwards for you. Your buzzword today, of course, is cabbage, because we made choux pastry. Anyways, thanks for joining me, guys. Sorry I went 5 minutes over. I hope everyone is okay on this rainy Sunday afternoon. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy your cream puffs. Send me photos, tag, or use at Beurre Pastry Shop, Beurre. It's this guy right here, Beurre Pastry Shop, on Instagram and Facebook. And if you want to check out the website, I don't sell profiteroles. Sometimes I do them for custom events, though, so I'm not totally out of French cooking whatsoever. I still make pommiers all the time too. Check it out. It's www.beurrepastrysshop.com. That's again Beurre pastrysshop.com, and you can contact me there too, or use the hashtag Beurrefection. Is a hashtag I use all the time. Perfection, Beurrefection, Beurre fection. And I'll find you, and I will want to see all of your creations. So post some photos, let me know you did, and let me know if you want to do this again next week. I had a ton of fun today and last week, so it was great. Anyways, thank you guys. I will see you next time. Stay connected.